IWBs are interactive whiteboards. The whiteboards are pretty much a giant laptop screen or a desktop screen or like an iPad for kids that's either hung on the board or can be portable. So what I found is that they can be touch screen, they can be used by a pen, or they can also be controlled by other touchpads. So for instance, my first grade classroom that I'm in has a touch screen one where they can do their math problems, where they have a problems here and their answers here, and they pull the problem with the answer, and it goes into like this little honeybee thing, which is really cool with like graphics and stuff, which keeps the kids like intrigued. Their board also is controlled by pens, where one side is like the pen and then the other side is the eraser, which is kind of cool. Where when I was in middle school and elementary school, the pen and the eraser had to be switched. So if I wanted the pen, I'd have to click the pen right, or if I wanted the eraser, I had to go to the eraser and click the eraser. And same if I had to click for a mouse, I'd have to go to a mouse. Another thing is that these boards can be up on the whiteboards, like in replacing up the whiteboards or a blackboard, but or a chalkboard, or they can be portable. I had a portable one in elementary school in the library that would be moved up and down our library or move into other classrooms if a teacher needed two of them for some reason. So I think that that's really handy. Another thing that I found is that teachers online say that they like this because of the hands-on effect, where kids are more intrigued and want to like touch and be interactive with like the lesson and the material because they can physically touch or move the questions or problems on the board, or they can do different activities using their laptops to project on the board. Speaking of that, when I was in high school, not really in elementary school, but in high school, we used Kahoot, which the questions would be projected on the board, and we could use our phones or our laptops to answer questions. So that was cool how we could have a device right in our hands and the answers that we answered would be projected on the board. Speaking of projectors, in our elementary school that I'm in, our teacher uses our little Elmo camera thing to read books on the whiteboard. So she'll have like the little camera here with the book here, which the camera will then be hooked up to the whiteboard and projected onto the whiteboard so she can read, and the kids can look and follow along with the words and follow along with the pictures. So my thoughts overall on IWBs is they're good to bring up like maps and YouTube videos and songs and poems. A lot of teachers use like audio reading because kids are so electronically inclined, where if they hear the audio on the board and follow along in the book, they'd rather have that than the teacher just reading a lecture and reading the book. With maps, they can bring up the world maps if they're talking about that, the state map. They can also do a lot of hands-on, which I think is very beneficial, is the hands-on, because kids are more interested in what they're reading rather than just listening, of course. One non-benefit is that it's very distracting, that if kids have like iPads in front of them trying to go to work with the other whiteboards on the board, the teacher might, or the students might get distracted by their board or their iPads because they'll want to go on a different application. So that's one thing, is that they can be distracting, or kids will goof around on them and not listen. So how I'll use them in the classroom is I'll bring up YouTube videos about songs, maybe like the adverbs, like the Schoolhouse Rock type of thing, like conjunction, junction, what's your function. Other things I'd use would probably be like the math games like my teacher uses to get them interactive.